In this video, we are going through the main ideas of Seth Godin's book, The Practice. Hey everyone, Maggiaro here, and this channel is for content creators who want to create a business by simply creating content around their passion and their expertise. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So with that being said, I'm a big fan of Seth Godin. I think that he has a lot of great ideas, and yeah, especially for creative minds and entrepreneurs like us, I think he has really a great philosophy, and that's why I just jumped onto his last book, The Practice. Okay, so what is the main idea of this book? So the main idea here is that it is all about not really creating your content, but really shipping creative content. It's all about the shipping. And what does he basically mean with the shipping? It's basically getting your work published, getting it out there. And there are really some pretty interesting ideas in this book. So how this book is structured is that you have 8 main core ideas, okay? So let me just draw that out here. So the first idea that we got is that you have to trust in yourself. Okay, so this is basically the first big idea that we have in the book. The second big idea that we have in the book is that it's all about being generous. Okay, and don't worry, I'm going to dig deeper into every concept as we are going through them. Okay, and then the third big idea that we have in this book is that you have to be professional. Okay, and the fourth big idea that we have in this book is everything is about intent. Okay? The fifth big idea is that there is no such things as writer's block. Okay? So there is no writer's block. And then just let me cross that out here. And then number 6 is that it's all about making assertions. Okay. Number 7 is that you have to earn your skills. And the big idea, number 8, is that you have to seek out constraints. Okay. So how this book is structured is that you have like those 8 chapters, and inside each chapter you have like small ideas and small basically kind of blog kind of content. I wasn't really a big fan of that, but yeah, this is my personal opinion. So let's just jump into the first idea. As I told you, the first idea is that you have to trust yourself. And what does Seth Godin mean with trusting yourself? Because there is one thing that you have to understand when you are creative, when you are an entrepreneur, is that there is absolutely no guarantee that what you're doing will actually lead you to a specific result, let's say a monetary result, right? And this is a quote that I really liked in the book is as Seth Godin says, it's about throwing, not catching, about starting, not finishing, improving and not being perfect. Okay, and we are going to find this idea again and again in the book when he says that it's all about the process and that you have to trust the process of creating, right? And you don't have to be perfect, because creating imperfect work is just part of the process. As if you start, for example, learn how to drive a car, for example, or how to drive a bicycle, right? You're going to fall, you're going to make mistakes, and it's just part of the process. It's just part of being, of just becoming a better creator, right? And the other big idea here is in this chapter is that creativity is an action and not a feeling. Okay, so let me just write it down here because it's pretty important. So creativity is an action, okay, and not a feeling. So what does that mean? It means that we cannot control what we feel, right? And often inside my newsletter, I'm saying to my subscribers, you cannot rely on feeling, you cannot rely on emotion, you cannot rely on mood when it comes to creating content, right? Because we can actually not, we don't have any control over that, right? And what if you like, when you're, and this is like the paradox here, is that, say, as an example, if you're in a 9 to 5, what happens is that you don't give so much place or a big importance to your mood, right? So you go to work no matter what happens, right? But why do we have as creators like this? This big power. Why does our emotion, our mood has such as a big power when it comes to the creative process, right? This is an interesting question that we have to ask ourselves as creative. So yeah, this is the thing. And before just continuing, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you. And with that being said, your work is also too important to be left on how you feel today. Okay, so this is another big thing. And what he actually says is that waiting for a feeling is a luxury we don't have time for. And that's true. I mean, if you just look back at all the, let's say, like the last week or the last month, like how many days were really on fire? I bet it's really less than 50%, right? Which means that we cannot like be really professional about what we are doing and creating a business and making money with our creative skills, and especially if we're content creators, if we're not serious about that, and if we cannot start understanding that what we have is we have just to commit to making an action, and even though it's imperfect, it's just like the way it goes, and being able to knock out a lot of imperfect things will also help us at the end knock out perfect things, right? Or at least like good enough things. You see what I mean? The other big idea is that it's all comes to basically the flow state, and he says that if we like the flow state is basically the optimum state of mind where you just don't feel the time passing by and you're completely in the task that you're doing and really like really enjoying what you're doing. So the thing is that we have to trigger the flow state, and we don't have to wait for it, because a lot of people think that, well, I have to wait until this flow state hits me so that I can make my work. But he says that no, we have to trigger it. And what can be a trigger? For example, sitting in front of a specific keyboard or doing any kind of ritual, basic to kick it off, right? So this is when it comes to trusting yourself. Okay, so flow has to be triggered. So this is like those were like for me the three big keys in this chapter. So let's just jump into the second chapter, which is basically being generous and using generousness to basically not feeling guilty if you see that, as an example, your content or your creative work didn't perform as you wanted to. Okay, so when you're generous, you don't really have to care much about the feedback, especially, let's say, when people find themselves like being judges on social media or on Amazon, or like they are just like throwing out, like, let's say, a 1-star review, or they're giving you a thumbs down. Because what you have to understand is that you have been the nice guy here. You have been the one that was basically generous in order to take time in order to create something for others. Because what we are doing is actually we are sharing, we are being generous with others, instead of others just like keeping like their experience, keeping their skills for themselves. What we do is here we just kind of courageous, right? And like, as an example, let's be completely 100% honest here. As you see, like, English is not my first language, but I still try to be generous and basically share with the world what I have understood, and basically all my experiences when it comes to creating a content creation business online, right? And this requires some kind of like, you have to be kind of brave, right? And don't be fooled by people who may give you a thumbs down, or who will give you like a bad comment, or who will just reply to an email in not a good way. So the thing is that often this like having and being afraid of getting like a bad feedback for others is what prevents us from creating content, and it doesn't have to. So you have to be proud, and you have to be just embracing the fact that what you're doing here is you're trying to add value into the world. And no matter like if you have like bad feedback, it just a way for you to improve if this feedback is really here helping you to improve. And if it's just someone who just says that, for example, your video is crap, or like what you're doing like doesn't really help me, or so on and so forth, then what he just said is that it's just not for him, right? And well, if it's not for one person, that's actually good, because if you're repelling people, that means that those who are truly in your audience and who you want to attract are going to be more attracted by what you have to do. You see what I mean? So what is actually the only metric to look at when it comes to knowing that if you're on the right path? Because if you're always looking for feedback, well, here is also the interesting thing, and this is like what I am adding here that's not in the book, is that what you're going to see is that most people who will really benefit from your content won't really send you an email. Like, it will just be the minority. It's as people who go through your course and get awesome results, not all will come back to you and tell you that and really like express this gratitude, right? Most of the time, the only people that you're going to hear from is that people who are upset and who are not satisfied or who don't take action and so on and so forth. You see what I mean? So this is why you don't have to constantly wait for getting this positive feedback. And the only thing and the only metric that really matters is that, do you ship your creative work? Are you shipping it? If you ship it, then you're on the right path. As long as you're publishing it, which means that that you're on the right path. And here is like an interesting also fact that Seth gives us in this book is, as he says that he on his 7,500 blog posts, he says that half of them are below average compared to the other to the others on any metric you care to measure: popularity, impact, morality, longevity, etc. etc. So it's just simple arithmetic. And so you see, like, even like a person like Seth Godin also admits that, well, like, half of his blog posts are just below average. So that's just the part of the work. But like, by understanding that and embracing the fact that, well, if you're creating 700, 500 that are below average, on the other hand, it means that the half of those are above average, right? And probably a lot of them also are basically good enough and very great. So yeah, so this is also something interesting, and try to see basically the glass, the water in the glass, and seeing the glass basically half full and not half empty. A thing that I struggle with a lot is, and I think if you're a content creator and a creative kind of person, you maybe also try to tend to beat yourself down, beat yourself up. Sorry. So yeah, it's certainly something that we have to recognize and embrace. Okay, so let's just jump into the third big idea, which is the professional. And here he's actually also talking about the reassurance and the fact that if we are just waiting for feedback, feedback actually doesn't last, because it's just it will just last for a few hours, and then you just want another feedback because you're just creating something else. So why should we seek for feedback? Well, and the professional is really about, it's all about skills, right? Because on one hand, you have the talent, and on the other hand, you have the skills. And he says that the skills is what actually makes you professional. And you are born with talent. But the thing is that everyone who has and who cares enough can develop skills, right? So this is like one important idea, is that you have to care enough and just develop your skills. It's just like the professional actually approaches it, okay? And then the other big idea here that I really liked is like defining your hour. So what is your hour? So as an example, if you want to become in better shape, then go to the gym 1 hour a day. If you want to become a better creator, then make 1 hour a day of creating and shipping your work, right? So like, if you really want to ship your work and be professional regarding to that, then you have to ship it on a schedule without attachment and without needing reassurance. You just ship whatever happens, okay? So this was everything related to the professional. The fourth big idea here is regarding the intent. So what is intent? Intent is about understanding that you are creating your work for somebody else. And as you see here, intent and generousness have a kind of a deep link, right? Because this is the intent, and you should have enough empathy so that your work basically relates to them, relates to the audience for which you are actually creating this your content, right? So another thing is that you have to understand is that not everyone will be pleased by your work. So you don't have to please anybody, but only the kind of person you serve. So, and this is also something like a big marketing lesson here, is that, and it doesn't matter the market that you're in, you're not be able to please anybody, and that's also true in real world. It's just how it is. Like, you can't please anybody. It's the same thing when it comes to your creative work. So as long as you just please to the audience that you are actually targeting, then that's good enough, right? And the biggest mistake that we can do is try to please everyone, and then at the end, even though like once you do this, you just see that first it will just weaken basically the relationship with your core audience without really solidifying the relationship with the broader audience. So it's really a lose-lose situation. So this is the thing. So the thing is that you have to be ultra specific. Who do you want to serve? And there is like he has like a blog post on his blog, which is you have to start with 10 people who are really like caring about what you have to offer, and those those 10 people, sorry, will just start preaching to 10 others, and so on and so forth. And this is how you get started. So even though being generic seems to be easier, but in the long run it's less effective. And here's like another big takeaway of this part of the book is like you should have enough empathy to understand what the people you want to serve really actually want, right? And you also have to understand that what you want doesn't necessarily mean what they want, right? So yeah, quite powerful kind of insight that I will let you just sink in and think about it when it comes to just creating any kind of content or any kind of product or online course or so on and so forth. Fifth big idea is there is no such thing as writer's block. Because creativity is all about uncertainty, okay? And failure is the foundation of our work. And writer's block, like being in front of like a sheet of paper, being in front of your screen with the cursor blinking and not being able to knock out anything, it's just like a fallacy. It's a lie. Because why do plumbers don't have any plumber's block when it comes to fixing a faucet or a toilet, right? So it's exactly the same thing with creative work. So writer's block is real, but at the same time it's unreal, okay? So the thing is that you just have to go through it and just start the engine. And once you're started, you just have to embrace the fact that I mean, it's like there's also a great book like related to that. It's The Art of War, right? So the thing is that you just have to keep pushing forward, and the professional like doesn't really care about his mood. He's just like doing the thing, and just keep pushing forward. Okay, so writer's block is just like a story we tell ourselves, which leads to bad work habits and persistent fears. So I really also like this part. So and the last basically quote that I wanted to share with you regarding this part of the book is that we don't ship because we are creative, but we are creative because we ship. And let me just repeat that. So we don't ship because we are creative, but we are creative because we ship, which is also quite interesting. So what really makes you a creator is not like being wired as a creator. No, it's being able to ship your creative work. Okay, which makes totally sense with the whole idea and the big idea of this book. So big idea number 6 is making assertions. So what are assertions? The assertion is basically the act of seeking to make things better. Okay, so make things better. Sorry for my bad handwriting, but I know that the attention span on YouTube is not is not very high, so I just try to knock it out as quickly as possible. So this is so the foundation of the creative process is making assertions, and starting an assertion starts with perhaps. Okay, so perhaps I could make this or that better. Perhaps I should create a content around this. Perhaps I should create an online course that will help people to achieve XYZ. You see what I mean? So the thing is that by making this assertions and starting your like anything you do with assertions, which are basically the foundation of the creative process, is that you want to find an answer, and to find an answer you just have to start with a question, right? And it's better to start by an assertion and see if you're right rather than being sure that you're right, which means that you only have to be proactive and start with assertions. For example, in my specific niche or in my specific field, I don't have to be 100% sure that I have, for example, something that works. What if I just start with the assertion, and as long as I'm trying to basically get an answer to that, start publishing around it. You see what I mean? So yeah, pretty powerful also insight here. Number 7, earn your skills. So there are two key differences between a good competitor and a great competitor. So those two differences are basically the skill, because they are practicing differently, and basically the attitude that they have, which means that no matter what happens, they are going to make it happen. They are going to improve their skills, right? And here is the thing: we all have like what others call a superpower, right? I like to call it the peak performance zone, but anyways, it's exactly the same thing. We just have a superpower, something that we are good at and that doesn't really requires a lot of work. And the thing is that you have to start with one superpower, right? Don't try to do 500 things at the same time. Just start with one, and you can add more of those superpowers in the future, right? So you have to commit to one goal that aligns basically with your superpower, right? And you have to choose basically the skills that you have to develop in order just to make you pretty darn good at this specific superpower, right? So the goal here is to become the best as being you, and stop comparing yourself to others, right? So here is like another great thing that really help you also to to really stop being harsh on ourselves, because it's often the case with me, and I probably also bet that's the case with you, that you're never like be the best in the world. Like, and I also like to tell that my clients that you don't try to be the best in the world. But the thing is that you're always going to find someone who's better than you in any specific kind of task. It's like, like the hard discount kind of shops, where every now and then you see someone who is just able to crush competition more, to make price like less, who's just able to goes down deeper and deeper and deeper with the prices. Well, you don't want to be in this kind of war, right? So the only thing that you really have to be better at is being yourself, right? Just be better than you were yesterday, and the week before, and the month before, and the year before. You see what I mean? So yeah. And now let's just jump into the eighth big idea of this book. It's all about seeking out constraints, because constraints are the key to innovation, okay? And your constraints basically define your market and foundation of your work, which means that you don't have to operate, let's say, in a vacuum. The thing is that you have to seek out constraints. So as an example, in my business, I have different constraints. So for example, I don't want to work with any outside contractor. I don't want to do some specific kind of things. So this is how basically I built my business. And the thing is that the constraints that I'm putting into my business just help me to enjoy the process more, and being basically creative inside this box, because we often think that we have to think outside the box, but actually creativity, innovation happens basically with constraints, happened with basically those kind of constraints, and the things that you limit yourself to. You see what I mean? So example of constraints are, for example, time, money, physics, regulations, format, technologies, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you have to trust in yourself, and basically trusting in yourself has also like a big relation to trusting the process, right? So trusting in yourself and trusting the process of just shipping, and just see yourself becoming better day after day after day. So this is actually the big idea here, right? And the practice, ideally, and this is also what I preach day in, day out. So, and let me just write it down, because this is so important. So the practice is his own reward, which means that don't try to find reward in feedback. Don't try to find reward in likes, in subscribers, in sales. Just try to find a reward in the practice itself. And I don't say that don't having a lot of subscribers, don't making a lot of money isn't important. No, but let them be basically the second goal and not the first intent why you're doing what you're doing. Right, so this is like the big the big idea here. And another great quote that I've got from this book is that your work is never going to be enough for everyone, but it's already good enough for someone. And I really, really love this quote. And yeah, it's really, really all what it is about. So, with that being said, you see that inside this book, there were like pretty interesting and big takeaways. And what I wanted to share with you is basically some of the best quotes that I've got from this book in the PDF that you can get by downloading the link down below. And yeah, just have to click the link, enter your email address, and you're going to get the PDF and also my daily emails for content creators. And now let's just talk about what was my specific, what is my opinion about the book. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy the manner how this book has been written. Okay, so as I told you, like every chapter you have like small little articles, like blog kind of like. I wasn't really a big fan for that because I'm kind of maniac of structures. Okay, and I just found that, let's say, when he was talking about like something in one chapter, then it just basically referred back to another and so on and so forth. So I really didn't like how it was structured. So the fact that I didn't really like how it was structured really didn't prevent me to just take out a lot of interesting things. And especially like if you're too harsh to yourself and yeah, not being indulgent enough with basically the creative process. And really it takes a lot of guilt out of you by just approaching it how Seth Godin is preaching it inside the practice. So yeah, I would like encourage you to like take a look at this book and basically see what interesting facts you can spot out for yourself. And yeah, with that, I'm leaving you with my favorite quotes of the book inside the PDF that you can download below. And also, I see you inside your mailbox. If you appreciate this content, please give me a thumbs up and also subscribe. If you're just a creative content creator who wants to create a business around his passion and his expertise, then this is actually the channel for you. And yeah, with that being said, thank you, and I see you in the next one.